ship.
Oh no!
Here we go.
Can I persuade you to join us for a drink? It's a tradition.
Here.
Jar Jar, homie, my main man, quickly. Before the Separatists attack, get into the escape pod.
Hey! This is escape, then we're the pod.
Welcome back to Star Wars Escape Pod, and we've got a very special guest joining us today, the one and only Supreme Emperor from Wookieepedia, and we've got our co-host Blake along for the ride to chat with the Supreme Emperor all about things Wookieepedia related, Star Wars fandom based, and a whole lot more. So let's get into it.
Another happy landing.
Fellas, how are you doing? Oh, wait, hold on a second here. I got to mute. I had the track muted. Sorry about that. How are you guys doing? Yeah.
We're doing great, guys. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, no worries. This is a conversation I was very excited to have once Josh told me he was able to get in contact with you. This is gonna be pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the tweet that you put out there, and I thought to myself, hey, I mean, I'm sure you're busy with all the Star Wars podcasts that took you up on the offer, but yeah, thanks for coming on ours.
Oh, it's honestly our pleasure. I'm having a blast doing the round around the podcast, just getting to talk about the site and how things work, and pulling back the veil a little bit.
Amazing. So for short, can we just call you SE then?
Yeah, that's fine.
Sweet. Okay.
Okay, that's what I was wondering too. I don't know if you prefer like my lord or
the royal highnessness. I don't know.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
My liege.
But yeah, how long you been doing this, man?
So I started on site back. I started first reading the site back around 2007, 2008. Made a couple little test edits here and there, but didn't really dive in until 2011. And from there, I just went down the rabbit hole and just kept going. 2015, I became one of the site administrators, and then here we are now.
Yeah. No, that's I mean, we're just conversing before you popped in, and the undertaking for creating such a large project must have been insane.
Yeah, it really was. Like, we're talking like the site was first created in 2005, and since then it's been quite literally thousands, if not like tens of thousands of people contributing over like 2 decades nearly.
Right.
Yep, I could see that. You'd really need a crew of that many people just with so much content, because even just the EU up to the point where Revenge of the Sith came out, there was just so many novels and comics and stuff, and then let alone where we are now. Like, it's just such a huge undertaking.
Yeah,
it really is, and especially when you have stuff coming out on like quite literally a daily basis some weeks.
Right. Yeah,
it's like hours sometimes.
It's crazy. I mean, like there's a new Star Wars comic just about every week, and that's a lot of additional hyperlinks to add. Let alone the page that it needs to exist, but to actually add it to all the lists on all the pages that have a list of all the individual comic issues for all this and that. I mean, there's so much stuff just how many volunteers full time are we talking about here?
So on any given day, and it's been a while since I double checked this number, so it might be a little outdated, but on any given day, I would estimate at least 50 people contributing in some form or another, and that's regulars, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But over the course of a month, you're looking at several hundred people when you start factoring in people that are just making a little fix here and there, like say finding a typo while they're reading. You're talking hundreds.
Yeah,
makes sense, and it's probably like a around the clock thing too. I'm guessing it's people all over the planet, so someone's always doing something.
Yeah, there's always somebody online. That's what happens. What happens is whenever I'll have like a night where I'm just kind of not really tired, I'll just hop in and hey, it's all the people from over in Europe. What's going on, everyone?
Yeah, just check in, see what everyone's editing.
Check in with everyone on the other side of the planet.
Do you guys have a
Pretty
way
cool.
of conversing with each other, like the main kind of source volunteers?
Yeah, so we have our Discord server, which is it's publicly available to everyone. There are some channels that are locked to editors only, so people who have 50 edits or more. But other than that, I mean, anyone is more than welcome to join.
Gotcha.
We've
Nice.
got some channels set up for helping people. So if people are wanting to get into editing or want to learn where to start, it's a great place to learn. Then we've also got our unverified discussions channel, which is just, hey, come and talk Star Wars with us.
Yeah.
Well, if it's open, then for anyone to join, we could put that in the link to this podcast. If anyone wants to check it out, they're welcome to do so.
Yeah.
We can certainly do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. If you want to send that over to me, I'll be sure to throw that in. What I mean, being so involved as you are with the Star Wars wiki and I mean, like what first got you into Star Wars in the first place? I mean, what was it that brought you there to being a Star Wars fan?
Well, funny enough for me, it wasn't the movies or anything for me. It was picking up a used copy of Heir to the Empire from a local used bookstore.
Nice.
Read through that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of those novels as well.
It just drags you in. So I read through that, pick up the rest of the series. From there, moving on to the Jedi Academy trilogy, which to this day I think is still one of the greatest things I've ever read. And then from there, it just turned into any book I can find, grab it. Doesn't matter if it's the third book in a series. I'll fill in the gaps with Wookieepedia.
Yeah.
Nice. That's actually a pretty neat way to go about it. Just like jump ahead to wherever. 'Cause I feel like, especially Josh. Josh is all about everything has to be in chronological order all the time.
I am. I'm a big sucker for chronological order. I mean, it's just
There was a point in time before they had officially put out a chronological list because with all the EU and everything was starting to get pretty vast. So Josh went and actually made his own chronological list order that he tried to share with all like us and all of our friends who are like really into the Star Wars galaxy.
Yeah, it's just a crazy kind of expanding story, right? With so much stuff in it. So, it got to the point where all these new kind of canon books and stuff, there was no definitive kind of timeline for reading or putting these all in a certain place with all of the comic books that were coming out and the games, and it was like fresh off the Disney boat sort of deal. And so yeah, I put together a kind of an initial document with all of this stuff in order, and each of them had hyperlinks to the Wookieepedia, pages, and that's what I shared around to people for a little while, and then that kind of fizzled out when it just got insane, like all of the stuff coming out every week, like you say. It just got crazy, and I just couldn't keep on top of it anymore. So that was a bust. But
If it's any consolation, there's no single person on the entire site that's actually able to keep up with literally everything. It's just not possible.
It's crazy, right? Like it's
absolutely nuts. It makes me wonder how the people like Lucasfilm themselves are able to keep up with everything and make sure that there's no issues.
Yeah.
Nothing like overseen that causes like a huge canon plot hole or something.
Yeah, I will say, like, for the most part, they're Lucasfilm Story Group, the group that actually handles that internal continuity. They do a very good job of it. Obviously, as with anything, a couple things are going to slip through, and that's going to happen in a universe this large. But by and large, they do a pretty damn good job.
Yeah, I'm incredibly impressed as well.
Speaking of which, actually,
much as we like to bitch about the little discrepancies here and there, by and large, they do good.
yeah, absolutely. Speaking of which, I mean, they have their own guy who sort of does all of this stuff, which is Leland Shee, known to us as the keeper of the holocron at Lucasfilm, and they've got their own database on the. I believe you guys might even have record of it on the Wookieepedia somewhere, but at one point there was like a screenshot that was released of this database software that they use in-house, and It can be found either on Wookieepedia or somewhere on Google Images. But with all of the stuff that they do on their end to keep track of things, obviously their database includes stories that aren't yet fully finished or released to the public, which kind of is probably the biggest difference between that and Wookieepedia. But then I would imagine it's also kind of like a short notes sort of deal, whereas Wookieepedia is insanely like detailed when it comes to studying up on characters and such. You don't even really need to read the books anymore. You can just go to the Wookieepedia page and it's probably summarized there somewhere. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm guessing a lot of their internal stuff is kind of short form notes. I'm just looking at the article now for the Holocron Continuity Database, and it looks like so it was this year that they hit 100,000 articles in that database.
Wow, that's a lot. That's and that's probably like very few people contributing to that, and Leland Chi being the head guy. But Pablo, I imagine would also be, very familiar with that as well. But
I have to imagine Pablo's involved in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Well, we always have these jokes here on the show that that Pablo is kind of like sitting there like Alfred in front of a back computer with all these screens in front of him, just on multiple, just tweeting stuff all the time, and he's got Wookieepedia up on like 4 monitors and like editing all the pages. And I mean, are you aware of any
the latest comic?
yeah, summarizing the latest Kenobi episode, correcting people's spelling mistakes.
Pablo was this obscure reference that he just knows.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
it was so amazing.
Are you aware of any Lucasfilm employees that help with the Wookieepedia effort?
I don't know of any that like edit offhand. We do have a couple people that are involved, be it like writers, artists, creators that just lurk around our Discord and pop in from time to time just to chat, see what's up. But I don't think there's any that are actually editing, quote unquote. I believe we did catch Pablo making an edit one time, and we made a meme to commemorate it. It was like, Pablo makes a copy edit.
Nice.
But no, other than that, I don't think we have any that are regular editors. Yet.
Yet. Yeah, and they might be just ghost editors, too. You don't realize that they work for Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
I do wonder if they...
anyone that's interacted with me on Twitter knows that I'm always looking for ways to attract new editors.
Yeah,
fair enough. Such a massive task.
Is that your go-to hobby? Kind of when you get home from work, it's just the thing. You launch up Wookieepedia and you get editing.
Yeah, more or less, or be it some fandom-related project or another. That's kind of the go-to. It's just a great way to unwind, get to be part of a larger community of people that just as passionate about the same thing as I am.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a time, a big commitment, to be contributing to such a large thing like Wookieepedia. I mean, it's a monster for a fandom with all of the pages. I mean, how many pages are there now?
At this moment, 175,922 content articles.
That's a lot of pages.
Wow.
I feel like really goes to show is how much Star Wars content there is.
Yeah.
And I would say given time, we could probably easily double that number. Given time.
You kind of already did with the Disney acquisition.
Yeah, how did that...
Everything has 2 parts.
How did that work? When Disney acquired Star Wars, what were the challenges of archiving and organizing the canon and legends into the separate tabs? And how long did that take? And is there still any ongoing effort to preserve the legends material at the same time while maintaining like the new canon stuff? Like, because there was that overlap, of course.
Oh, the beautiful thing about the fact that it's entirely volunteer-based is that people just kind of come in and work on what interests them. So for a chunk of the user base, that's Legends material. For another chunk, that's canon material. And then you have kind of that overlap of people that just float between both continuities. So there's always attention being paid to both. When that split first happened, once you got past the initial confusion of, how is this going to look? And we started to learn that, okay, so this is going to be Legends universe. This is going to be the new continuity. then you start kind of digging into the specifics of, how do you present this to the reader? Because you obviously don't want to have everything on a single page, because that just, from a reader perspective, that just doesn't make sense. It was at that point that one of our code savvy users, Cade, came up with this idea of a tab system, which we then implemented using bots, because there was absolutely no way that you could do this by hand.
Right.
Only with 10,000 people helping you.
I remember.
Because at that point you're talking like every single page has to be edited multiple times based on this editing script. So you're talking a couple 100,000 edits just there alone.
Basically, the whole website needed to be reformatted.
Literally every single article.
I remember.
I really want to know specifically, like when you guys saw the news that like Kathleen Kennedy said, we're moving all the current stories to Legends. Like I'm really curious what went through your guys' head at that very moment.
What went through my head was, I mean, you can bleep this out if you want, but like, oh shit. Because at that point, I'm just like, I didn't really know how to take it at that point, because up to that point, it had been, this huge part of my life. And I was hesitant. I was worried about what direction they were going to go in, but I'm happy to say that all these years later, I'm happy with how they've done it.
Right.
Yep, me too.
Now
I have to say, I think they've done a good job.
That just floats between both continuities.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that they're slowly like pulling in the EU stuff too. Like, see, I feel like Dave Filoni is like, this is his secret plan to like bring back as much as he possibly can. And I personally have my hopes and my sights on them bringing back the Heir of the Empire trilogy.
Can I presume that you're up to date on Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Yeah, of course.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't want to be that guy. There was, I don't know if did you notice the giant wall in the background that had all the Aurebesh text on it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think we've translated yet though.
Quite a few
Let's just
Easter
say
eggs.
Pablo had a hand in that.
Ah.
Because one of the names on there is a reference to a Jedi from one of the old West End Games source books from the 90s.
Oh wow, nice.
Yeah.
Pablo tweeted out an image of this character with no context about an hour after the episode launched, and we're just like, I know what you did, Pablo, and I like it.
That's so funny. Probably just kind of like trolling everyone.
I believe that there was also another one, if I remember correctly, was it translated to the name of a Jedi from the Star Wars Galaxies MMO.
Oh, amazing.
Oh,
Yeah.
Interesting.
I know what you're doing, and I love it.
There was
plant the seeds.
There's been so many Easter eggs with even like a young Quran, which I assume is a Quran horn. A little Easter egg there for the games, but yeah, I mean, like it's been really cool to see all these Easter eggs kind of like pop up, whether or not we see them actually get a payoff at some point. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. I mean, like it just satisfies all of us who kind of recognize that stuff, and it's all these Star Wars fans out there who have those 4K TVs and they actually do take the screenshot and decipher the text, and it's like,
yep, exactly.
Got to put it on the Wookiee.
Now that you know that stuff is like that person, whoever is canon, you can kind of pull the thread until they recanonize it. You can kind of just assume whatever EU was, it should just be the same.
Yeah.
And the other thing I think is cool that I really like they're doing is they're just getting so much more involved with the fans with it. Like I know with Kenobi, they were pulling in prominent people from the fan community to just be a background extra.
Right.
And, you get
501st, I know, has been involved a lot. And I think the Mandalorian as well. The Mandalorian group.
Yeah, they. I know the 501st did a lot of the background stuff during filming of Mando, but it's just great to see these people that are lifelong fans getting to connect with other people that are lifelong fans.
Yeah, absolutely.
And on top of that, Lucasfilm doesn't have to pay them; they'll do it for free.
And yeah, like I know in episodes like 4 and 5, they even had Christina Ariel, who hosts the High Republic show. She was just chilling in the background. She was one of the rebels in the background.
Yeah.
Just hanging out.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that until the This Week in Star Wars episode came out, which pointed it out. I think it was that pointed it out. But yeah, that was quite funny to see as well. What goes on at Lucasfilm kind of stays in the family sort of thing, Yeah,
it was like right after that episode went live, she shot us a DM with just like a time code, and we're like, and pull it up. I'm like,
Make sure this gets on the
"Oh, it's
website.
new!"
Yeah.
She's like, I had to wait till it came out.
That's so funny.
when the source books come out, then you guys can finally make her a character page and
She'll get an action figure and everything else.
yeah,
And
exactly.
yes, and that's just going to be fantastic. And it just goes back to like the idea of like, you have all these people that are lifelong fans who have now gone from being fans to being directly involved with the creation of this material, which is just just creating a much larger community, because now these people that are involved are going to get more involved with other people who are lifelong fans, and it's just going to keep rolling from there.
Right. Yeah,
And I
absolutely.
feel like this is what Lucasfilm was a lot like before the Disney acquisition. Like they felt like they were really involved with the community. It seemed like it was maybe more of a George Lucas thing. I'm really glad to see that returning.
And it's even on the social media side, like their Star Wars Twitter account is very active with fans now. People are just having a blast, just having these positive engagements.
Instead of just arguing with directors on Twitter.
Exactly.
We got a question from one of our regular guests on the show, a friend of ours. His name's Phil, and he wanted to ask you who's your favorite Star Wars character and why is it Dash Rendar?
Well, I have to disappoint by saying, unfortunately, it's not Dash. I got to go with.
Poor
I have to go
Phil.
with I have to go with Thrawn.
Amazing.
Just
Okay.
because that reading of Heir to the Empire had a very profound impact. Just the way that Thrawn looks at everything entirely from the analytical standpoint, taking away the emotion, it was just something that really spoke to me, and maybe that had a hand in pushing me onto Wookieepedia and just looking at things from the analytical side.
Yeah.
No, that's actually a good point. It's a good connection there. That would make a lot of sense.
What are your thoughts on the new Thrawn books and the new? I mean, there's been
the Rebels.
6 Thrawn books in the recent canon.
I'm first off, like, it's great to see Timothy Zahn back in this again. He's always just had such a way with words. He's able to condense so much into just a couple hundred pages. And I think with Rebels, I think they did the character justice. I think that they absolutely nailed his behavior, his mannerisms, and his desire to just outdo everybody. Like I'm
Always
the
be
one that
10
beat
steps
you.
ahead.
Yeah, exactly.
So you were pretty happy when you saw him in Rebels.
It was great to see him up on the big screen.
Yeah.
And we keep getting hints that maybe he might show up in one of these series as the new big bad. I'm pretty excited for that. If that
I'm thinking
happens
Ahsoka,
to be the case.
if anything. I'm thinking it's probably going to be Ahsoka, but knowing how good they are at just trolling fans, I would not be
True.
surprised to see another little name drop somewhere.
Yeah, because it seems like she's going to be looking for like Ezra, and Ezra
Yeah.
we lost saw disappear with Thrawn. So
Yeah.
stands to reason.
I'm kind of curious. What we have a few questions that a few of our regular voices on the show contributed here, and this one's from Darian. But how many Star Wars fans visit Wookieepedia a day? Do you know what kind of traffic goes on the Wookiee?
Yeah, so without getting into like actual like specific numbers, but you're looking upwards of like probably 500,000 people a day just reading
Wow.
pages.
500,000. That's a lot of people.
Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if that was actually like well over 1 million a day in terms of page views, just based on the new Obi-Wan series.
Yeah.
So that's probably a good range to spitball in.
I wonder
That's
what
nuts.
I wonder what that compares with StarWars.com. I mean, Wookieepedia
I'm sure
probably
even
gets
news websites are jealous of those numbers.
yeah. Yeah, that's impressive. And it all volunteer based. Not a cent comes out of this, right?
Yeah, like we're all just doing this because we enjoy the universe.
Yeah.
Just fans coming together.
Yeah,
Exactly, and that's kind of the big thing about fandom too. The company that hosts Wookieepedia and other wiki sites like Memory Alpha, for example, the Star Trek wiki. That's kind of the big thing. Is it's for the love of fans.
Yeah.
We're all passionate about something, and this is how we kind of showcase it. This is how we kind of bring all of those fans together.
yeah, absolutely. And as to what it should be, right? Like, I mean, it's the same with this podcast. It's just a us bunch of fans, getting together, chatting about Star Wars and doing it because we love Star Wars.
Already doing it. Yeah, we're already doing it anyway. So it's like, why don't we just record it and put it out there?
Yeah, exactly. That's where the idea for this thing came from. Was primarily just like we have so many good talks about Star Wars stuff. Like other people would actually maybe find this interesting. So let's put like a slight let's put an intro to it and slap some sort of a raw kind of template of how we're gonna have the discussion, but primarily it's all just a bunch of us chatting Star Wars as fans do, and contributing to that wide web of fandom content out there, which
and the really cool thing about it is all of us being on like fandom, like hosted by fandom, there's a lot of overlap between the various communities. So like in a given night, I could have a chat with someone from Memory Alpha where we talk about some of the back end stuff to do with editing, or you just kind of get exposed to all these other fandoms that you didn't even know existed.
Right.
And it just kind of nudges you deeper into that rabbit hole.
Right, absolutely, yeah. The fandom is such a crazy part of what helps this franchise be valued at what it is. I mean, when
at last count, fandom hosts something like 300,000 wiki sites.
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, to think what George sold Lucasfilm for. I mean, quite frankly, even though the content itself only had certain value, I mean, it's really the fandom that gets sold with it, because so much of us are so enamored by this fictional universe out there that they launch a new book or whatever, and there's X amount of people are going to buy that book, and you start racking up the numbers. It's like, wow, there's some serious money to be made here, and it's pretty much all due to the fans that really make it what it is, as far as a success story. I mean, in the eyes of the public, that is, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I got another question here for you, which is who's this from here? How much Star Wars? Oh yeah, how much Star Wars content do you research in a day? This might even just be a leisure kind of reading of a book, or just to sit down and got to catch up on like the weekly comics or something like that. So this question is also from
honestly, Phil. Not nearly as much time as I would like to be able to put to it. It kind of depends on what I'm focusing on. Like at the moment, I've been doing a lot of back-end dark mode fixes. So if you have a fandom account and you're logged in, you can choose to view the site in either light mode or dark mode, which is superior, by the way. Dark mode is superior. But the last couple of weeks, I've been doing a lot of back-end dark mode fixes. So like I'll get home, I'll run a script to fix some old templates so that they display better. And that's just kind of eaten up a lot of that time. But it really just, like I said, it depends on what I happen to be looking at the moment. And the same goes for everyone on site. It just depends on what project you have on the go, and that could change on a daily basis.
Right.
Yep, fair enough. But if you had unlimited time, I'm guessing it would be all day long.
100%. If I could get paid to do this, that would be like dream right there. So if anybody wants to pay me to do this, I mean, please, I'm more than happy to.
Maybe give Pablo a run for his money, take over his job. I think that's all he does all day is just read Star Wars books. So
yeah.
Josh wanted to do that at one point.
yeah. I mean, who wouldn't,
Pablo,
right?
If you need an assistant.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Share some of the content. You don't need to do it all.
I'm sure Pablo's probably one of your biggest contributors to the wiki, though. I mean, let's be honest. The guy, it's like the guy's job, right? Yeah, Blake, I know you got some questions written down here.
Yeah, a few here. Let me check the doc. I guess you kind of like somewhat answered this, but I was wondering if Lucasfilm ever reaches out specifically if something they realized was incorrect.
Sorry, you cut out for a second there.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was wondering if like Lucasfilm ever contacts like the Wookieepedia directly, if they ever see if there's anything that's like mismatched from what their understanding of canon.
And to my knowledge, I don't think we ever have. I think generally we're pretty good at getting it accurate the first try.
Yeah, for sure.
But obviously, we do have a couple of people that are hanging around in our Discord. So if, let's say, an author notices something was wrong, they'll just be like, "Hey guys, psst, heads up."
Yeah, this is just slightly off here. Switch this. So like, I guess another. This is on the list, but when a canon kind of changes, I guess, but like both things are considered canon. Like, what do you guys do with that discrepancy? Like an example would be like Kane and Jarrus, right? When we saw him at the beginning of Bad Batch, that changed his storyline.
I was just gonna say that would be a perfect example for it. So for that, then it just comes down to first of all, like how much of a difference are we talking? Like, is it something that can be attributed to just artistic liberties? Like, is it just a color change, or if it's something that's like an actual retcon, then it comes down to which is higher priority. So obviously, TV, movies, that sort of visual media, that's going to be kind of like the top tier. So then that kind of takes precedent over everything else. Otherwise, then you just kind of salvage what you can and you try to find the best way to tie those things together.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. It's funny how at the end of the day, everything kind of falls back to the old G level canon system.
Yeah. Yeah, the old Lucas kind of hierarchy, which we haven't really gone into depth, I guess, on at any point on the podcast, but we have brought it up before. But yeah, what are your opinions on that? With the complexity of this canon kind of getting richer and richer as time goes by. I mean, there's obviously going to be spots where inconsistencies slip through, and when like you say, how the analytics of putting all of this stuff literally on a page. I mean, it's easier to spot when you're looking at it all in kind of bullet form. And I mean, like what are your strategies for, I guess, smoothing that over?
Honestly, the easiest way to handle something like that is just community discussion. That's kind of one of the benefits to our Discord servers. We get to have kind of one-on-one live chats with every major editor on the site, so we can just very quickly try to hammer out a solution. That'll then go to a discussion on site, so people who aren't on Discord can participate, followed by a vote, and generally that's a very smooth process. It's just community discussion.
Vote now! Vote now!
Which unironically is in fact I believe that was actually the quote used on our consensus track forum, was vote now.
Nice. That's
awesome. Like, it's funny because like you get to a certain level of like quoting Star Wars movies, but like the non-obvious ones, and then other people have no idea what you're talking about, and it's just like it just makes you sound like it only works in certain circles, right? And it just makes me so happy when people recognize. It's like recognized.
It's when you spot a real Star Wars fan.
Yeah, exactly.
You know the quote I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Like halfway down the street, I'll hear someone give that quote. No, I'll be like, "Yo,
I heard you.
I got you, man. I got you." Yeah. It's yeah. You guys must have a good time, contributing to this whole effort, and
I'll link it in the chat for you. But yeah, this is our consensus track, and it's literally the image on the right is just vote now.
So good. Hey, who contributes to your news feed on the home screen? Because it's a great newer feature, I guess. I don't know. Maybe it's been a while since I actually looked at the home screen, not a specific page, but.
Are you talking about the on this day or the did you know?
There's a little kind of widget called Wookiee News, and it's like a slideshow that's kind of going across the main
that
page.
One. Okay, that one here. Let me see if I can actually.
Yeah, and then we got like a read more kind of thing, and it takes you to a Wookieepedia page. But it's a smart little thing to put in there. I just thought it was pretty cool.
We'll keep that updated with that's something that'll be locked to admin only, but we keep that updated with anything that's newer and coming out. The main page is by far the most viewed page on site, just because it's the default landing for anyone who's coming to the site from, say, Google.
Right.
If you have an account, you can select where you want to land when you come to the site, but that's where it defaults.
Gotcha. Okay. Interesting. I'm curious, what's the longest page that you guys have on Wikipedia? I don't know if there's a way to figure that out, but
Yes, that one is one of my favorite ones, and that's by far Anakin Skywalker back. The Legends version of Anakin Skywalker is the largest on the site.
interesting. Okay.
That makes sense.
That makes a lot of
sitting
sense.
at 770,029 bytes, followed by the canon Anakin Skywalker at 720,000 bytes. That actually might be overtaken.
We tend to do these episodes every now and again on the podcast called What Happened, which we go through the chronological events and appearances of a certain character throughout all of Star Wars. And Anakin is just one of those characters I don't think we'll ever do because it's
like
just too, yeah, it's just like it's too big. I mean, like we did Ahsoka, and I think that was probably our biggest one yet. I forget what that clocked in at, but we try to do the characters that are kind of less seen on screen and more kind of between the big chapters, in the pages of books and in the comics and all that.
And generally, I think the idea is to try to like enlighten people, but obscure characters that are about to be in the live action series.
Yeah,
so like Cad Bane was one we just did.
Yeah, Cad Bane. Yeah, we did it. We did one for Quinlan Voss at one point. We did one for the Darksaber.
I guess we're gonna have to do Thrawn
Bo-Katan
pretty soon.
Thrawn is on our list. Thrawn is on our list of to dos. But it's honestly like having the Wookieepedia there to actually help construct sort of linearly like what sometimes I'll just jump right to the references section at the bottom, and I'll see when that character was mentioned or has been in, and sometimes there's been something from the comics that I haven't quite caught up on yet, and I'm like, oh, he was in there, and then I'll or she'll be in there, and then I'll pick up that particular title and give it a read or add it to our list of events to go through when talking about the character. But it's been very useful to have that.
And you see, that's the things we love to hear. We love to learn about people just getting use out of the site and just enjoying it. When I took over a Twitter account last year, that was kind of one of my big pushes, was to kind of bring it full circle back to the fans that are enjoying reading this content, and just kind of, like I alluded to earlier, kind of pulling back the veil on how this actually works.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a good point, because it has been a black box, and I've been on the website since like grade 5. So
I remember the days when Disney first bought Lucasfilm, and when your tab system kind of first went into place, and all of the empty pages that existed for the canon. I mean, there was just like a little blurb and then like nothing else, because it hadn't been fleshed out yet, right? And it's just was there a piece of the code in there that pointed people towards the tab that had more content at the time, or
No, so there was no way for us to actually have it set up like that. It was either going to be a one or the other. So what we did was for the first I think year or so, I want to say, we just left it to defaulting to Legends, because we don't want to default people to the page that has no content.
right?
Then once we hit the point where this content's been fleshed out, we kind of have an idea of where this universe is going, then we just did a quick little vote to switch that over to canon, just because it makes sense for that to be the default landing for people.
Gotcha. Yeah. Wow. I mean,
so if that's across the board, then there's some characters that only exist in EU. So does that mean that they would show up at an empty page and you have to switch over?
No. So in the instance where there is, I'll use, say, Jaina Solo as an example. If someone's looking for Jaina Solo, it's just going to default to the Legends one, because there is no counterpart.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's, if there is a canon counterpart, it'll default to the canon, but if there isn't, it won't.
I see. Okay.
Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Yeah, Blake, do you have any more questions there?
Well, I need to reword this question, because now I know the answer beforehand. So instead of asking what EU story that you'd want to bring into canon, I'll ask you how you would like Heir to the Empire to become canon, and if you think it'll fit into the current canonicity we have now.
I don't know if I would want to see it adapted kind of one for one, but I would love to see maybe have the Ahsoka show lead into Thrawn returning from the unknown regions to take over the forces of the Empire, because it's still a very open period where we don't really know what exactly goes down with the warlords. Like we kind of know bits and pieces, but I think that would be a great way to bring it in.
Right.
Because I think we have somewhat established that, similar to the old EU, the after the Empire is like broken apart, they kind of like is sectioned into like warlord, kind of like shattered pieces of the former Empire. So it could be that Thrawn is trying to like reconnect all that together.
Yeah, and we already know that the Empire is active in the unknown region, so there's going to be some, a couple little outposts here and there that he can kind of pull together to create a force, and then just kind of work his way in, similar to how he did in Heir to the Empire.
Yep, I think that'd probably be a better direction than using remote control Star Destroyers. And then we've already, I guess, technically seen that in canon with Rise of Skywalker.
Now, if we can just bring back the Sun Crusher, then all is good.
That would be cool. Yeah,
I'm one of the handful of people that actually really enjoyed that thing.
Just like this super overpowered Star Destroyer.
I mean, maybe that's just my childhood desire to see this ship fly through the bridge of a Star Destroyer on the big screen.
That would be pretty badass.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe they'll continue to do stuff kind of in the non-canon light now that the seal's been broken on that with the animated stuff, the anime.
Yeah, and now that we've got Vision Season 2 confirmed at Celebration.
Yep, right. Exactly. So there's hope yet that we can have our cake and eat it too.
Exactly. I would honestly love to see a sort of like a Star Wars What If series similar to the Marvel one. I think that would definitely be a hit.
Yeah, I think that in a way that's kind of, I guess, what Visions has set out to almost kind of be, but more with a obviously like the international artistic flair to each of these episodes. Because if I'm not mistaken, season 2 is going beyond Japanese anime. I think we're now getting the multiple other countries contributing to their take on Star Wars, right?
It's like a global effort.
Yeah.
I haven't looked too closely into it yet, but that would make sense given that it was kind of their way of reaching out into these other communities just to see, what's your artistic interpretation of Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And part of me in the back of my mind is thinking this is them kind of putting out the line to like fish for ideas, and then stuff that really works, they might just like steal it and put it in canon. Because with Visions, there was because some of them were from the first season were really cool, and I think would really work in canon. So
you know what? I just want to see that the Gemini class Star Destroyer, that like dual Star Destroyer. I just want to see that thing.
That was
just
pretty
for
neat.
The entertainment
From the twins, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. I like seeing that.
It was such a classic like super villain thing to do. That was pretty good.
It really was, and it kind of had that kind of that old EU super weapon feel to it, where it's just like
yes, exactly
overpowered, completely out there thing we can think of. 2 Star Destroyers conjoined with a super weapon in the middle.
It just makes sense, and for some reason, they're both bridges have control.
Yeah. And every super weapon needs its weakness.
It's true. And I feel like they need to start doing stuff like this because Star Wars is starting to run out of ideas for super weapons.
I mean, is there any last minute questions, Blake, that you have for the Supreme Emperor here?
We went through the ones I knocked out here.
When you inevitably think of one like 10 minutes after we finish recording, feel free to invite us back on again sometime.
Yeah, I think I got one. Why don't you guys come back when Thrawn is finally canon, and then we'll have you as part of the review for that episode.
Yeah,
right, I like it. Let's do it. Let's throw this on the schedule.
Yeah. We'll yeah. You know what? We're gonna put it on the list, Blake, for future show episodes, and we'll get you guys back on again when that
Sounds
inevitably happens, because
It's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen. Yeah, it's gonna happen.
Yeah,
It's gonna.
Yeah.
because like he's too perfect. Sorry, go ahead.
Watch them just leave it as always just a subtle mention or like a you just missed him.
Oh man, that would be
Massive
so aggravating.
control.
But the problem with Dave Filoni at the helm, I just feel like it has to happen because he's just way too perfect of a villain to fill that void, and everyone already loves him.
And Filoni's great at just bringing the character in right at the right moment. Between him and Favreau, like they're just fantastic at that.
Yeah, they are.
Yep,
Yeah.
so true. I've loved everything they've done so far. So
They're great storytellers. I look forward to more.
Rip our hearts out when they get involved or when they get the Kiners involved.
yeah, that's true. But we can sometimes persuade them to change their mind. Brings Ahsoka back, for example. So
Yeah,
hope's not always lost.
that's right. Supreme Emperor, do you have anything that you would love to say to our audience, and any social handles to follow, etc.?
Oh, the one thing I normally always finish off with is kind of what what my personal vision for the site and for Star Wars in general is, and that's that. While we may have different parts of it that we like you might like something different than me, I might like something different than you. That's totally fine. At the core, we all still love the same thing, Star Wars, and that's kind of the thing that binds us all together.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said.
That makes sense. And I actually did think of one last question.
All right, let's have it.
So how do you guys fend off the trolls? Because I'm sure if there's people that are constantly editing pages at random to like insert their name and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Replace Anakin
Surprisingly,
with my name.
So what we actually have is our recent changes feed, and this is built into the Media Wiki software, but I'll link it here so you can see it. But this is the recent changes feed, so we can see everything that's been added. For example, I could see that someone who is editing from logged out has just 2 minutes ago edited the page for Agent Kolar. I pulled it up and see that okay, they added in they were just adding in 2 graphic novel adaptations. But at any given point, there's probably a couple dozen people keeping an eye on this. So generally, if you try to vandalize the site, you're not going to get very far.
Okay, that's good. Because I think it was Josh who pointed out to me he edited something that he thought was mistaken, and then it got like edited back like 30 seconds later. So I think you told me that one point. That might have been years ago. It seems like you guys are really on it. It sounds. I will say something after the show so the listeners don't get any bad ideas, I think.
Always remember, you can block with one click. It's very easy.
Okay, that probably solve it then.
Yeah. With great power comes great responsibility, am I right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Supreme Emperor, it's been a pleasure.
I have to block Josh now, yes.
Yeah.
Bye. Nice knowing you.
All right, guys. We'll catch you later.
Thanks for having us. Take care.
Good chatting with you, Supreme Emperor, my lord.
All right, guys. And thank you so much for tuning into the show. We will catch you in the next one. May the Force be with you.